Amina, a young black woman, was traveling for an important job opportunity across the country. The airport was bustling with activity as she made her way to the gate. The excitement of starting something new filled her with optimism. She had been preparing for this moment for months and was eager to make a fresh start. As she boarded the plane and settled into her seat, she couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't quite right. The flight attendants were moving through the aisles with a noticeable tension. She shrugged it off, thinking it was just pre-flight jitters, but little did she know, this flight would change her life forever. After takeoff, the flight attendants began making routine checks. However, one flight attendant approached Amina and asked her to move seats. The request was unusual, and Amina, unsure of what was going on, politely asked why. The attendant, growing impatient, snapped at her, insisting that she comply without further questions. Amina, feeling uncomfortable and confused, hesitated. "Can you explain why?" she asked again, but the attendant's response was rude and dismissive. Within minutes, the situation escalated. The flight attendant demanded that she leave the plane, creating an intense scene in front of the other passengers. Amina was shocked. What had started as a simple misunderstanding was now spiraling into something much larger. The situation grows tense as Amina is forced to stand, causing a scene that catches the attention of other passengers. As she questions the flight attendants, the airline staff's behavior becomes increasingly hostile. Amina, still in disbelief, begins to realize that this is not just an issue of seat arrangements. One of the flight attendants whispers something to the other, which Amina overhears. It's not about the seats. It's something much deeper. She starts to suspect that the real issue is her race. There's an uncomfortable undercurrent to the entire exchange. Her suspicions are confirmed when the crew makes derogatory comments under their breath. It becomes clear that Amina's treatment is rooted in racial bias. As the altercation escalates, Amina stands her ground. She refuses to leave the plane, demanding an explanation. The captain is called to the scene, but instead of diffusing the situation, he sides with the flight attendants. The passengers are confused, some sympathetic, others silent. But Amina, filled with anger and hurt, knows she cannot back down. With the pressure mounting, Amina is forcibly escorted off the plane, humiliated in front of the entire cabin. The flight takes off without her, and she watches helplessly from the gate as the aircraft disappears into the sky. What was meant to be a professional, calm journey has turned into a public spectacle of racism and injustice. Amina is left standing at the gate, feeling a mix of humiliation and rage. She watches the plane disappear into the clouds, realizing that her dreams of a smooth journey have been shattered. She can't believe how she's been treated. Thrown off the plane, humiliated, and racially profiled. Her anger simmers quietly as she pulls out her phone, immediately posting about the incident on social media. The support from her followers is immediate, and the hashtag number Justice for Amina begins trending. Amina is still shaken, but she feels a new sense of power. She is not going to let this go. The backlash against the airline is swift. News outlets pick up the story, and soon the world is watching. Public outcry spreads across social media as people from all over the globe expresses their outrage. Hashtags like Balmain boycott, the airline, and racial injustice flood the internet. The airline issues a statement, apologizing to Amina, but many see it as an empty gesture. People are calling for more than just an apology. They want justice. And Amina, now the face of this growing movement, is ready to take on the airline. Amina begins to gather a team of supporters, including lawyers, activists, and fellow victims of racial discrimination. Together, they form a plan to take legal action against the airline. The team works tirelessly, collecting evidence and organizing a class action lawsuit for everyone who has been subjected to similar treatment. Amina's voice becomes louder and more resolute. She speaks at rallies, sharing her story and advocating for systemic change. The media, once focused on the airline's side, now shifts its focus to Amina's cause, putting more pressure on the company. Amina, becomes a symbol of resistance against racial injustice. As the lawsuit progresses, she gains more media attention. Interviews, appearances, and public speaking engagements turn Amina into a household name. She uses her platform to highlight the discrimination she faced, and soon, she is seen as more than just a victim. She is a voice for all those who have suffered in silence. The airline, facing mounting pressure, begins to feel the weight of public scrutiny. Despite the apologies and promises of reform, their reputation is severely damaged. The case goes to court, and Amina's legal team fights aggressively, presenting evidence that the airline's policies and practices were discriminatory. The case becomes more than just about one woman's experience. It's about exposing a pattern of mistreatment that the airline had been ignoring for years. The public watches closely as Amina stands tall in the courtroom, refusing to back down. Her determination and grace under pressure begin to shift the narrative. No longer is she just a victim. She's a force to be reckoned with. The legal battle intensifies. Amina's team uncovers more instances of racial profiling by the airline, adding weight to their case. Meanwhile, the public is fully behind her, and more people come forward with their own stories of mistreatment. Every day, Amina receives letters and messages of support. Some come from strangers who share their own painful experiences, while others are from high-profile figures in the civil rights movement. The tide is turning, and Amina knows it. Amina's movement gains even more momentum as protests begin to spread to airports around the country. People are chanting her name, demanding accountability from the airline. Amina realizes that she is not alone in this fight. Her battle for justice has become a collective struggle for equality. Her speeches resonate with thousands as she pushes for legislative changes to address racial discrimination in the aviation industry. What began as a personal battle has now evolved into a national movement. Despite the growing public support, the airline fights back aggressively. They hire a top legal team, pull every trick in the book, and smear Amina's reputation in the media. They attempt to discredit her, claiming she was difficult and uncooperative during the incident. Amina, however, remains focused. She knows her truth, and she will not allow the airline's lies to derail her cause. She doubles down, fighting harder than ever before. The tide turns in Amina's favor when a major breakthrough comes in the case. Evidence of the airline's systemic discrimination is undeniable, and the judge rules in favor of Amina and the class action lawsuit. The ruling is historic. Amina's victory is not just a win for her, but a win for every person who has faced racial injustice. The airline is ordered to pay a significant settlement, and more importantly, to change its policies to prevent future incidents of discrimination. Amina's voice has been heard, and justice has prevailed. In the days following the victory, Amina is inundated with media requests, interviews, and offers to collaborate on anti-racism initiatives. She is celebrated as a hero and a leader in the fight for racial equality. But even as she enjoys the fruits of her labor, Amina remains humble, knowing the work is far from over. The airline's CEO steps down in disgrace, and new leadership is put in place to ensure that the company's policies align with anti-discrimination practices. Amina's victory is a catalyst for change across the industry. As Amina reflects on everything she's accomplished, she knows she has only scratched the surface. She's committed to using her newfound platform to push for more systemic change, not just in the airline industry, but across the country. Her story has inspired millions, and she vows to continue the fight for equality and justice. But Amina's journey doesn't stop here. She's just getting started. What began as a single flight's injustice has become a movement for change, and she will make sure her voice is heard for as long as it takes. The court victory catapults Amina into the national spotlight. She uses this momentum to start an organization dedicated to combating racial injustice in the workplace. Named Equality Wings, the organization focuses on advocating for fair policies in industries with a history of systemic discrimination. Meanwhile, Amina reflects on how far she has come. She revisits the pain and humiliation of being kicked off the plane and realizes that it was the catalyst for her growth. While the scars remain, she channels her emotions into her work, ensuring that her victory sparks real, lasting change. One day, Amina receives an unexpected offer. A major investor wants her to buy shares in the very airline that wronged her. Initially, she is taken aback. Why would she want to be involved with a company that caused her so much pain? But as she considers the potential for change from within, the idea begins to appeal to her. After consulting with her legal team and closest allies, Amina decides to take the leap. She begins negotiations to buy a controlling stake in the airline. Her decision marks a turning point, not only for her, but for the future of the company. Negotiating with the airline's board proves to be one of Amina's greatest challenges. Many board members are resistant to her involvement, fearing that her agenda will disrupt the status quo. But Amina remains steadfast, presenting a vision of an inclusive and progressive company. Her persistence pays off when several key investors back her bid. After months of intense discussions, Amina successfully acquires a controlling stake in the airline, becoming the first Black woman to hold such a position in the industry. The announcement makes headlines worldwide. On her first day in her new role, Amina walks into the airline's headquarters with a sense of purpose. She meets with the leadership team and outlines her vision for the company. Her priorities include implementing mandatory diversity training, creating an inclusive hiring process, and ensuring fair treatment for all passengers. The staff is initially skeptical of her intentions, but Amina's determination wins many of them over. She knows that transforming the company's culture will take time, but she is prepared for the challenge. Not everyone is thrilled with Amina's leadership. Some senior executives push back against her policies, arguing that they are unnecessary and disruptive. Amina faces constant criticism from within the company, as well as from outside groups who are resistant to change. Despite the resistance, Amina stays focused. She meets with employees at all levels of the company, listening to their concerns and addressing their questions. Gradually, she begins to build a coalition of allies who believe in her vision. Under Amina's leadership, the airline begins to undergo a cultural transformation. New diversity initiatives are introduced, including scholarships for underrepresented groups interested in aviation careers. Amina also creates a task force to monitor and address complaints of discrimination within the company. The changes are met with mixed reactions. While many employees embrace the new policies, others remain resistant. Amina's resolve is tested daily, but she refuses to waver. Her goal is to create a company where everyone feels valued and respected. As Amina's professional life reaches new heights, her personal life becomes more challenging. The stress of her position takes a toll on her mental health, and she struggles to maintain relationships with her friends and family. She often feels isolated, burdened by the weight of her responsibilities. To cope, Amina starts attending therapy and surrounding herself with a supportive inner circle. She learns to prioritize self-care, understanding that she cannot lead effectively if she is not taking care of herself. The experience helps her grow as a leader and as a person. Amina begins to see her role at the airline as part of a larger mission. She starts collaborating with other companies to promote diversity and inclusion across industries. Her work extends beyond aviation, inspiring change in sectors like technology, finance, and healthcare. Her efforts attract the attention of lawmakers, and she is invited to testify before Congress about the need for federal policies to address workplace discrimination. Amina's influence grows, and she becomes a prominent advocate for systemic change on a national level. Just as Amina begins to see progress, the airline faces a major scandal. A former employee leaks documents revealing that some executives had been trying to undermine her leadership. The revelation sparks outrage, and Amina feels betrayed by those she trusted. Instead of letting the scandal derail her, Amina uses it as an opportunity to clean house. She works with the board to remove the executives involved and implements stricter accountability measures. The experience strengthens her resolve to create a transparent and ethical company. The scandal becomes a turning point for the airline. With new leadership in place, the company begins to thrive. Employee morale improves, and customer satisfaction reaches an all-time high. Amina's policies are credited with transforming the airline into a model of inclusivity and innovation. For Amina, the success is bittersweet. She reflects on the challenges she faced and the sacrifices she made to reach this point. But as she looks at the positive impact of her work, she knows it was worth it. Amina's achievements are recognized on a global scale. She receives numerous awards for her leadership and advocacy, including honors from civil rights organizations and industry groups. Her story is featured in documentaries, books, and speeches, inspiring people around the world. Despite the accolades, Amina remains humble. She sees her success not as a personal victory, but as proof that change is possible when people come together to fight for what is right. Amina begins mentoring young leaders who are passionate about creating change in their own industries. She launches a leadership program through her organization, Equality Wings, providing resources and support to underrepresented individuals who aspire to leadership roles. Her mentorship program becomes a beacon of hope for countless people who have faced barriers in their careers. Amina's legacy is no longer just about what she achieved. It's about the opportunities she created for others. Amina's work sparks a global movement for workplace equality. Companies around the world begin adopting policies inspired by her leadership. She collaborates with international organizations to promote diversity and inclusion on a global scale. Her influence reaches new heights as she becomes a sought-after speaker and consultant. Amina's name becomes synonymous with progress, and her story is studied in business schools and leadership programs worldwide. Years later, Amina reflects on her journey. From the humiliating experience of being kicked off a plane to becoming a trailblazer in the fight for justice, her life has been a testament to the power of resilience and determination. She thinks about the people she has helped and the legacy she will leave behind. Though she has achieved so much, Amina knows there is still work to be done. She remains committed to her mission, using her platform to inspire others and continue the fight for equality. As Amina prepares to step down from her role at the airline, she is filled with a sense of pride and accomplishment. The company she once fought against has become a leader in diversity and innovation, thanks to her efforts. Amina's legacy is not just about the changes she made, it's about the lives she touched and the doors she opened for others. In her final speech as chairwoman, Amina addresses a packed auditorium. "This journey has shown me that one voice can create a ripple, but together, we can create a wave. The fight for equality is far from over, but I am confident that the future is in good hands." The crowd erupts in applause, and Amina steps off the stage, ready to begin the next chapter of her life.